Martin was a man who had lived his whole life on the edge of poverty. Every day, he woke up before the sun, put on the same worn-out jacket, and headed out to look for work. Sometimes he found odd jobs, cleaning windows, sweeping streets, or carrying boxes, but most days, he came home with barely enough to buy a loaf of bread. Life was hard, and it had been that way for as long as he could remember. He didn't have family, and the few friends he had were also struggling. They would sit together at night on the park benches, sharing stories of what they could have been, what they could have done if only life had given them a better chance. But deep down, Martin had given up on the idea that his life would ever change. One cold afternoon, as Martin was walking down the street, he noticed something shiny on the ground near an old shop. He bent down to take a closer look. It was a coin. Not just any coin, though. It was large and gold, different from anything he'd ever seen before. Martin picked it up and turned it over in his hands. The coin was beautiful, with strange markings on it. He couldn't read what it said, but it had a warm glow that made him feel hopeful. It was probably just an old collector's coin, something valuable enough to buy him a meal or maybe a night in a warm bed. He walked into the nearest pawn shop and handed the coin to the shopkeeper. The man behind the counter raised an eyebrow and examined it closely. "Where did you get this?" he asked, sounding almost suspicious. Martin shrugged. "Found it on the street." The shopkeeper turned it over, rubbed his chin, and then smiled. "Well, you're a lucky man. This coin is worth quite a bit. I can give you $1,000 for it, right now." Martin's eyes widened. $1,000? That was more money than he had seen in months, maybe years. Without thinking twice, he agreed, and the shopkeeper handed him the cash. That night, Martin didn't sleep on the park bench. He rented a small room in a rundown motel and had a hot meal. It was the first time in years he didn't feel the biting cold in his bones as he fell asleep. He couldn't stop thinking about how that little coin had changed his day. Just one coin, found on the street, and suddenly he was sleeping in a warm bed. The next morning, Martin woke up early again. But this time, instead of going to look for work, he decided to walk by the place where he found the coin. Maybe there was more. Maybe his luck hadn't run out yet. As he walked down the street, something strange happened. An older man, dressed in a fine suit, approached him. "Excuse me," the man said. "I couldn't help but notice you look familiar. Weren't you the man who sold a very rare coin yesterday?" Martin hesitated, not sure if he should answer. "Yes, I sold a coin at the pawn shop." The old man's face lit up. "That coin," he said, "is worth far more than you were paid. It's part of an ancient collection. In fact, there's a legend about it." Martin frowned. "A legend?" It sounded like a story from a fairy tale. The man continued. "The coin you found is one of a few that, according to legend, brings luck to those who need it most. But the luck doesn't come from the coin itself. The coin is a test. It finds those who are struggling, and if they use its value wisely, their luck begins to change." Martin didn't believe in legends. "So, you're saying because I found that coin, my life is going to change?" The old man smiled. "It already has, hasn't it? You didn't sleep outside last night. You have more than enough money to get by for a few weeks now. But that coin is just the beginning. The real magic is in what happens next." The man handed Martin a small business card. "If you're smart with your luck, you can turn that $1,000 into much more. I run a small business looking for workers, reliable people. If you're interested in steady work, call me." Martin couldn't believe what was happening. Just yesterday, he had been searching for scraps, and now he had money, a warm bed, and even a job opportunity. He took the card and thanked the man, unsure if this was real or some kind of joke. But it wasn't a joke. Over the next few weeks, Martin worked for the man's company. He started small, doing basic jobs, but soon he moved up. He learned new skills, met new people, and worked harder than he ever had before. He saved his money, and little by little his life started to change. Months passed, and one day, As Martin walked down that same street, he smiled to himself. He was no longer the poor man sleeping on park benches, barely getting by. He had a stable job, a place to call home, and enough money to live comfortably. And it all started with that one coin. As he walked past the old shop where he had found the coin, something caught his eye. There on the ground was another coin just like the first one, shiny and gold, with the same strange markings. Martin picked it up, but this time he didn't rush to sell it. He stood there thinking about the old man's words. The coin is just the beginning. The real magic is in what happens next. Smiling, he slipped the coin into his pocket. Maybe it was his turn to pass the luck on to someone else. And from that day on, Martin never forgot that sometimes all it takes is one small moment, one small piece of luck to change everything.